What is going on, guys? My name is CodyT503 and this is NJPW Podcast. Coming to you guys on October 8th, 2023 for episode 75, where today we have the return of a very, very special guest. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you guys get notified whenever I upload content. Make sure to go and follow me on social media at CodyT503. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Let's get right into this. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute pleasure to bring the return to you guys, Max Burnside.
Oh, I saw it, dude. How's it going, bro?
Oh, man. How are you doing tonight?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
I'm doing really, really good, man. It is an absolute pleasure to actually have you back here.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure to be back.
All right. Well, maybe if we can introduce your name to everybody who maybe doesn't know you, or where you're from and how long you've been in pro wrestling.
Well, I am the chillest dude in pro wrestling, your mama's favorite smoking buddy, Max Burnside. I hail from Pacific City. I've been in wrestling for about 8 years now. I started training 8 years ago, and it took about 2 years of training before I was in front of the crowd. And ever since then, I've been making my way across the Northwest, and I've been fortunate enough to go to a couple places outside of the Northwest. So here I am now.
That is really awesome. So, like, what is everything that you've actually been up to since the last time that we talked?
Actually, quite a bit. I think the last time we talked was, how many months ago was it? I think it was like 4 months ago, 5 months ago?
Yeah, 4 months ago.
Yeah. So since then, unfortunately, there was the shutdown of 2 promotions in that time, making it a total of 3 within a calendar year, with 5cc, TPW taking a hiatus, and we haven't heard much from them, and then Without a Cause shut down. So we decided that we were tired of watching these companies kind of shut down. So within the last 3 months, myself, referee Bradley, and Jaden came together and decided that we were going to open up our own company and give the awesome talent of the Pacific Northwest and another platform to come and display that talent. So that's kind of what I've been focusing on these last 4 months. Is literally just ASAP wrestling, making sure that we have everything in order, so that way when January 7th comes, which is the first show, we're ready to go full force. So
yeah. Okay, well, before we actually get into like ASAP Pro Wrestling, I actually wanted to ask you about the final 5cc show.
Oh.
And give me 1 second. So I know like you had actually been able to actually cash in the Nebulous Star, just like I know me and you had sat there and talked about before, but you were also able to be the final 5cc champion. So like, can you kind of like walk us through that whole day of the actual final show?
Yeah. I'm probably going to cry a little bit while I'm talking about this, just because Logan is one of those guys that I met in wrestling that was kind of like me. It was kind of like not taken seriously a little bit. And he started his own company, and he kind of said, fuck you to everybody. And he made a noise, and he made something very special in the Pacific Northwest, and made something very unique across the independent scene. So that final day was very bittersweet, because as I was driving up, I wanted to make sure that the last 5cc show was something that not only was memorable, but something that was going to be fun. So that way it wasn't a whole bunch of tears and crying, because we knew we were going to do that. We knew we were going to cry. We knew we were going to have speeches and all that good stuff. So I wanted to make sure that up until that moment, it was going to be the best time that we had. Arriving at 5cc and having the last meeting and sitting behind the curtain for the last time at 5cc, entering the five-sided ring for the last time was very bittersweet, because, again, a very, very, very unique place with somebody who I respected very much, because him and I kind of had a lot of similarities. So that day was very bittersweet. So,
yeah.
But,
yeah.
Hold on one second.
No, you're all good, man.
Everybody remembers this one. This is the North Star Nebula. But of course, I'm now forever 5cc wrestling champion. So now this gets to hang on my wall forever. So now, again, it's bittersweet, because a company like that was very unique, and a company who had, Nick Wayne was their very first champion. Nick Wayne is making very, very big waves across the independent world right now. He's been doing it for a while, but now he's doing it on a bigger stage. So that's to me right now, this is the most special thing, is being able to call myself the final 5cc champion. So yeah, that day was very bittersweet, and I look at these every day, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be able to be a part of something so very special.
Yeah. Yeah, like that had to have been like a crazy experience to actually have all of those people in the ring holding you up as you were finally like that was like the end of the show. And it's like how did that feel, being in that ring and having all of those people surrounding you, and like knowing that like that was the end of that company, and you were the last person that like anybody can see, and you're the final champion? Like that has to be insane.
Again, I think the only word that I can think of is bittersweet, because the only feeling that I could feel when I was being lifted up was, this kind of sucks. This kind of sucks. Like, but after being told by everybody in the locker room who came up to me and gave me a heartfelt, few words and told me some really awesome things, that's the moment where it was kind of like, this doesn't suck. Like, this doesn't suck. Like, it sucks because it's ending. That's what I was, kind of like feeling, like this sucks because it's ending and I don't get to defend it against anybody. But it didn't suck when I had the confirmation from my peers that, hey, like, like you deserve this. And so that's when it didn't suck so much, is when I was in the locker room, when everybody came up to me. So in the ring, it kind of sucked because I wanted to be able to, bring some more flair back to the Northwest. Because like I said, 5cc is such a unique place. So
yeah. So it's like, is it weird, kind of going from a special 5-sided ring to now only knowing that like you're going to get like those 16x18s, just like we had kind of spoken about last time, and kind of transitioning?
No, I mean, there's some people that had a problem with the 5-sided ring just because they didn't like the rope to corner. There's a lot of bad aspects of it as far as like training. You probably couldn't train in a 5-sided ring, because when you're training people, you need to teach people to like run ropes and hit corners and stuff like that. But if you know what you're doing in a ring, it's something really unique to like use to your advantage. Like for an example, I remember Ricky Gibson and Eddie Pearl were using it as like a funny part in their spot. Like, they would whip somebody off the ropes and go to run the ropes, and like would hit the corner, and like it was just very unique to watch people use the 5-sided ring in a very different way than you would a 4-sided ring. But I don't think transitioning back to a four-sided ring is going to be too difficult, just because I spent the majority of my wrestling life in a four-sided ring. So
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. One thing I wanted to bring up to you, and like, so I was like going throughout your videos, and and also like online, like Twitter and whatnot, and I saw you do a Tope Con Burnside, where you like went out over the ropes, and then you slammed into the person, and you guys both went into the chairs, and like I was like, what? Like that is like insane. Like how does it feel to like take that maneuver and then just get slammed into chairs? Like that is so crazy.
to be honest, it's a blur sometimes, because that move I'm scared to do all the time. Like, I have to have the confidence to do it because I'm a little shorter, but I can jump. But the last thing that I want to do is catch my feet on the ropes, like, or do the famous top dollar thing and catch my legs, and then it's over with. I'll never do that move again as soon as that happens like that.
Oh
So
man.
like that. I remember that night, and that match was actually really fun. So I remember just thinking to myself, full send, who cares? And I just, as fast as I could, hit the ropes, as fast as I could, jumped over the top. And I just remember in the air, like, I don't remember much in the air, but I remember as I land, where I landed, because my hands landed on chairs, and I was like, oh my God, we're in the crowd right now. And then I looked to make sure to see if I didn't hit any fan in the face or anything with my feet, because fans don't like to move out of the way when they see wrestlers flying. I'm just like, move out of the way. I had to tell some fans yesterday, get out of the way. You might want to move.
Oh man. So like it like obviously like there are probably some risks that you probably had to have taken throughout your career. Is there anyone where you felt like there was maybe the most risk?
That's actually a really good question, because a lot of the stuff that I've done hasn't been too, like, of course, what we do is very unsafe because we could go in there and do a simple roll and break our necks. So, like, everything we do is like high risk. But even doing hardcore matches and doing stuff where it's kind of high risk, like jumping off balconies or using weapons, or jumping to the outside of the ring where there's no protection and stuff. I think the biggest risk that I've taken, as far as like physicality stuff, would probably be, wow, actually I can't really think of anything that's like too, I mean, like, obviously jumping off a balcony is kind of high risk, but I wasn't worried about it because, for one, I trusted myself to be able to land safely, and two, I trusted the people that were underneath me. So probably the balcony, I think, would probably be the biggest risk that I've taken.
All right, coolio. Well, we'll definitely have to like get into that a little bit later. And one thing I found really interesting is that the last time that I talked with Zay Perez, he was talking about, or me and him were both talking about how professional wrestling is a sport. And I had shared in another podcast about my dad not really being into professional wrestling, right? But I had actually called him earlier, and he had actually referenced professional wrestling like as a sport, which is like I thought was like just really funny, and I just wanted to just throw that out there just in case he's watching, because motherfucker. Like,
I mean, you can come to a training session and see if he can last a training session, because There's no cardio like in-ring cardio. I'm just saying, you can come try it out. You know,
Oh man.
that's my advice to people who, because you get one of two reactions when you tell people you're into professional wrestling or you are a wrestler. It's, oh, that fake stuff, or, oh, that's really cool. And so I
Yeah.
love it when people are like, oh, that fake stuff, oh, like, that's fake, right? And they ask the questions, and it's like, well, you can come to a training session and find out, because I'm not gonna tell you. You know, if you want to think it's fake all day long, I'll let you think whatever you want to, but come find out.
Oh man. So like, what was the last time in which you actually had somebody like say that when you were just trying to just tell them about what you did for whatever?
One of the last jobs that I had, I actually, because I keep it kind of like hush hush on, like, the shoot job, just because I don't want it to be a thing like talked about all day long when I'm trying to, like, do just a job that I'm trying to make money to help support my wrestling dream. And it can get distracting sometimes when you have a whole bunch of people like come up and ask you questions and stuff. But I had a job recently where I had a coworker recognize me from a local show, and so they came up to me and asked me, like, hey, are you a wrestler, right? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, I seen you at this promotion, and you did this, and then another coworker had heard it, and they come up, oh, like, like, that's fake, right? Like, that's why do you do that fake stuff? And it was like, well, and I had to go into the whole explanation of, like, what do you consider fake? Like, what do you watch for TV? What do you do? Do you like Marvel? Do you like TV shows? Do you enjoy comic books? Like, do you actually enjoy immersing yourself into that world without thinking about the fact that it's not real? Like, 'cause that's exactly what you are doing when you're watching TV, when you're watching movies. You are immersing yourself into something that is not real. So guess what? That's fake. Why are you watching that fake stuff? So that's my response to that kind of stuff. I do it respectfully, of course, because I don't want to make anyone feel less than because they have an opinion about something. But at the end of the day, like, when you really think about it, like, no matter what you do, like, even some people think the NFL and UFC is just as scripted as professional wrestling. So everything's a work. Just chill out, dog. Enjoy it.
Yeah. Like, I think that's one thing that people don't really recognize about professional wrestling is that once you step into the ring, because like I've actually been able to go into a ring before, and when you go over the ropes, the hardness on the mat is insane. Or like if you actually try and like send yourself into the ropes, like you have to push yourself into those ropes in order to be able to bounce off. And it's like, imagine like, yeah, like that's just working in the ring. Like, imagine actually having to perform or like do all of these moves where you could be coming off the top rope and you have to land on your back, or people would say even going and doing like a simple bump by yourself training, like you can get the breath knocked out of you. And it's like imagine like actually performing that multiple times a week, multiple times a month. Like, there's just this physicality that comes with professional wrestling that I feel like people just don't recognize.
And like, my favorite part about wrestling, live wrestling, that you get to go and watch is it is quite literally the only form of entertainment that is interactive. You have a crowd that is screaming chants. The energy of the crowd dictates the energy of the match. Like, you see it all the time, like with big pay-per-views with WWE and those big matches that have big moments. They have big moments because the crowd is going crazy, or they're making this moment even better because, the energy is just so over the top. And so I love that professional wrestling is the most interactive, the only interactive form of entertainment that there is. Like, you can't go to a movie theater and yell at Spider-Man, or you can't go and, I mean, you can, but like, they're not going to interact back with you. You know what I mean? So like, it's the only thing like it, and it's one of the many reasons why I love it.
Yeah. I think it's really crazy to think about professional wrestling, because just like something that I brought up with Drexel in my first interview with him. And it's the fact that, like, no matter what language you speak or where you come from in this world, everybody understands in-ring psychology. So it is worldwide. No matter what language you speak, you can understand professional wrestling. And that's what makes it just absolutely, like, beautiful when it comes to this world. You know what I mean?
there are two universal languages, I believe, in this world: professional wrestling and music. It doesn't matter what language you speak. If you can read music, that is a language. If you know how to read music, it is read the same worldwide. So like, that is crazy that you say that, because that's, yes, like 100%. You could go like to, you know, what is it, the thing on Dark Side of the Ring where they did the match in, I think it was Korea, the one where Inoki and Eric Bischoff put on the hugest match, the biggest wrestling event of all time. Like, these people didn't know what the heck they were watching, and by the end of it, like, they were screaming and cheering because, you know, they figured out what the heck was going on. Plus, they were fans of Inoki, so, like, you know, universal language, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, that is so cool. And I know the last time that we had spoke, you had said that that D'Lo Brown had actually had like a seminar after the event and whatnot. And that was one person who I've actually been able to meet, and it was actually at that event. And it's like, was there anybody else that you had kind of met that is like major that you can kind of share with us?
Well, yes, I've been very fortunate to share some locker rooms with some pretty cool people. I was a part of the very first Grap House event down in Vegas, and that was during SummerSlam weekend 2021. Oh God, it's been forever. I can't remember. CTE is a son of a bitch. And that weekend was pretty cool because that weekend was full of like who's who. And Ricky Morton came back into the locker room at Grap House because he was doing an event with GCW. And him, Ricky Shane Page, I had a couple of other people from GCW came back into the locker room, just hanging out. And he remembered who I was because I had talked with my trainer, and my trainer like knows him personally and like texts him and calls him all the time, I guess. And so I had met him one time through my trainer, and then he remembered me from that long ago. So Ricky Morton is one good one that I've got to, you know, meet. Kevin Sullivan is one that I've got to talk with. Depends on, you know, people's opinions about it. At the time, you know, going into wrestling, I didn't really know too much about the backside of some of the kind of like personal stuff. But he was somebody that I got some advice from early on. Let's see here. I have a funny story within my first 5 matches. I had tagged with Robbie E. From TNA. Now I can't remember his name. Robert Strauss, I think is his name now in WWE. I tagged with him in my first 5 matches, and he comes back into the locker room, and he looks at me and he goes, "All right, so what do you want to do tonight?" And I'm so green that I have no idea. So I'm expecting this guy to come in here and kind of help me out, and so I'm just like, I don't know. And thankfully, my trainer was there, and he's like, "All right, let's do this. And so I was just like, oh. And you could tell that it was just it was not an easy experience. So I've been fortunate enough to cross some paths with some pretty cool people in the wrestling world. I'm trying to think. Like in my early days, I was able to go to CAC, and I met some pretty cool people. But like CIC, you can meet like everybody. You meet everybody there. So like you could go down a list of people that I got to, you know, shake hands and say hello. But I think probably the coolest one is when Ricky Morton remembered who I was. I was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. So yeah.
That is crazy. Well, I just want to just tell you maybe like a little bit of a story, just because I just asked you about that. Well, so I actually was able to meet AJ Styles in 2017, and it was at Comic-Con, and I had asked him about what was it like for you to like take that step back when you had gone to TNA and then New Japan and then going into WWE. Like, at what point was it that you actually visualized all of the companies that you had worked for and which one benefited you the most? And it was really interesting because he actually told me that with his time in TNA/Impact, it was actually Dixie Carter that was actually kind of a detriment to his overall character. And he didn't realize that until he had actually left Impact Wrestling/TNA. And it was like that was just like so crazy to like actually hear from somebody that is prominent that like this was actually a detriment to my character. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, yeah, that's why I just felt like sharing that with you, because it's like that is
No.
so interesting.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. That like when you get to meet people that you see on TV and you get to hear some of their stories, it's kind of crazy. Just it puts things in perspective a little bit.
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to bring up to you was I was scrolling through your Twitter the other day, and you actually had a like GIF of like Jeff Hardy coming out and making his entrance, and you said this is like I live this feeling. So like, why Jeff Hardy's entrance do you feel that?
I think that was a reshare of, if I remember right, that was a reshare of something that Spencer shared. If I remember right, I'm on my phone right now, so I can't quite look, but I'm pretty sure it was something that Spencer had reposted, and it was something that had to do with Jeff Hardy. And so I just reposted with the Jeff Hardy dance. And I think, I can't remember what it was, but it had something. It was something that was like really like good. It popped me really good, and so I think that's what it was. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Shout out to Spencer. Nice shirt, by the way.
Hell yeah, Flaming Aces.
So with your shirt and with my shirt, we make the Super Aces.
Oh hell yeah!
Let's go. I love that. Shout out Super Aces.
Man. That is so awesome. Well, one thing I wanted to bring up to you is I know one interaction that we had before was when I found within your little highlight reel the song "Load Up" by Josh Kane, and then I went and I watched it, and it looked like you were like hanging up on like the rafters and just like banging your head, and like it like reminded me of like Sean Crahan, from Slipknot.
Slipknot, yeah.
Yeah, you were just going. So it's like, can you kind of walk us through like that whole party or, production and whatnot?
Yeah, so my buddy Josh Kane, he's a musician. He's phenomenal. If anybody is watching and loves, he plays a different, like all different kinds of music. He does party rock, he does kind of pop rock, he does pop punk, he does softer stuff. He plays all kinds of instruments. He's phenomenal. Anybody who's watching, please go check out Josh Kane. But this particular video was very fun because the song is about going out and having a great time with your friends, and all the stuff that comes along with that. So this video was shot at this lovely, lovely property. Who the lady who owned it was very, very awesome. Her name's Shireen. And it was just a big, huge party scene. So it was just a whole bunch of takes of us just kind of doing what we normally do, I guess, at a party. And we had, I think it was like 250 people packed into this house. It was like a 2-story house. And luckily it didn't get too wild. It was actually like very nice and calm. Everybody was just having a great time. And that particular scene was very awesome because if you if you watch that scene, the drummer's sitting on the toilet while he's got a drum set in front of him while he's playing the drums. So he's taking a crap while he's playing the drums. And the drummer is also one of my good friends. His name's Dylan. Love you, Dylan. I'm gonna clip this out and I'm gonna send this to him. He calls me Dr. Burnside. I call him Dr. Pickle. But anyways, he was drumming on the toilet, and so he wanted me in the scene, just kind of in the background. And in the bathroom, they had this really cool, like, big wooden, like, pillar that was part of, like, the foundation of, like, the upper floor level. And so it was able for me to reach around and hang on it. And so I'd ask the owner, I said, hey, is it okay if I hang on this? And she was like, yeah, that's totally fine. You don't weigh that much. It should be fine. And so I was actually in a gorilla suit. So, like, one of the big fuzzy, like, onesie gorilla suits that has just, like, the face cut out. And so there's a few scenes where I'm running around in a gorilla suit, just kind of like hanging out. And then that particular scene, I was hanging upside down in the bathroom, just banging my head. Yeah, that scene, that video was a lot of fun. But if you really want a story about a Josh Kane video that involves Sir Jaden, there's a video called Lips of Poison by Josh Kane. And that video has a story behind it, possibly for another time.
that sounds really good.
Yeah.
Oh man. So like I know the last time that like we had spoken, you had said that you were actually in a band. So like what instruments do you actually play?
I'm a drummer first and foremost, because that's probably the instrument that I'm most comfortable on, and probably could be comfortable being in a band again. I'm a drummer. I'm a guitarist. I'm learning bass. I used to play bass, but because I had focused on other instruments, it's pretty much the same thing if you know how to play guitar, but there's a couple of different things. And so relearning the bass. And then I'm trying to learn how to play piano, but I'm having a little difficult time. It's hard. Playing piano is hard, but yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, I just wanted to ask you that just because like I find it really interesting, and something that I wanted to ask you was like, how does it feel being a musician, especially when it comes to drums, where it's like you have to have not only repetition but coordination. Like you have to be able to focus on everything and hit things at the right time. And it's like, how has that helped you in your wrestling career as far as having that rhythm or getting into that dance where you can hit these things and it goes into that, and it's like that has to come like second nature.
I will say drumming made it really easy for me. I was also in marching band in high school, so of course having a little bit of footwork while you're drumming, you kind of have to learn to do that. I also didn't know how coordinated you had to be in wrestling, obviously, until you get into it. But transitioning things from music to wrestling actually was really easy, especially learning things like psychology and learning things like behind the scenes stuff. Music and wrestling, I've learned, are very, very similar. And actually conversations that I've had with my buddy Josh, when he's talking about music and what he's doing with his career, and me talking about wrestling and what I'm doing with my career, like we're very similar with how we're talking about it. So music and wrestling are like very much one and the same, which is probably why like you see a lot of wrestlers who are also musicians, and you see a lot of people who who love wrestling also love music, because it's again, it's a universal language, and it's also it's something that it's just easy. It's so relatable. It's just very relatable. Like I it's can't really think of much of another word other than relatable, because it's just
yeah. So like how is it kind of just like you had said, like just kind of just sitting there with Josh Kane and just talking about either one's profession, right? And like there has to be certain aspects that like you guys can kind of understand about each other, especially when it comes to creativity. So it's like how did that feel, kind of like bouncing off of each other and kind of knowing the creativity that both of you guys have to bring when it comes to either playing music or being in a professional wrestling match?
Oh, after the first conversation that I had with him about like music and wrestling, it was very easy to talk about how as far as things like marketing and like stuff like that, advertising yourself, putting yourself in a unique market, doing things to make yourself stand out, and then also being unique as far as like an artist, in music, sounding like another band isn't going to make you stand out. But if you make some music that kind of sounds like this, but is, your own twist, like if you make a unique version of something, that's kind of what makes you stand out. Those kind of conversations are definitely one and the same. And when I was having those with Josh, it was very, very easy to realize like, this guy looks at music like I look at wrestling. And even though I'm a musician and I look at music the same way too, I love wrestling so very much. And having those conversations with him was just like, confirmations that like, okay, I'm not a crazy person. Like this is an obsession, but like I'm also a very passionate person. So like when I'm talking about this stuff, somebody who is also very passionate about what he likes to do, again, it just makes it very relatable, and it makes it easier to just want to support the crap out of him and buy all of his music, support all everything that he does, share all of his stuff, which is what I do. I use his music in all of my videos and stuff. I try to, because he owns the music, so I don't have to worry about any copyright issues, which is great. So it makes me want to support people like that more, because when I find people that are passionate about stuff, it just it could be literally about anything, like painting, music, literally if somebody's passionate about something, I'm very much supportive of it, obviously, like yeah, that passion is just a crazy thing. So when I see somebody who is as passionate as I am about something, it draws me to it. It just makes me want to support them more. So
yeah, just like a quick question before I actually go into the next topic. So like, did you play like tenors or like snare drum when you were in marching band?
I played snare.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is crazy. That's really cool.
Yeah, and then there was one year where we didn't have that many snare players, and so I actually during homecoming I was playing football and I had to take off my pads, like after during halftime, to go put on the fucking snare drum to play during the homecoming thing, and then put my pads back on. So I didn't get to go in the back and relax and like drink some water while they were doing the whole halftime thing for 15-20 minutes. I had to put on the snare drum and play the drum.
Oh, that is so funny. Well, let's kind of talk about you like jumping off of the balcony. Like when I first saw that, I was like, what? You know what I mean? Like how the hell, like that has to at least be, 10, 15, 20 feet up in the air. And then okay, I'm sorry. So like for some reason, when you were doing that jump, you reminded me of Rob Van Dam, because he does this like little pump before he actually goes and does the jump, and then like that's something that like you did. You just pumped your legs and then boom, I'm just going for it. It's like, how was that whole experience? That had to be crazy.
It was really funny. I mean, I think the whole the leg pump thing, I just wanted to make sure that I got the arc so that way I didn't jump over everybody, because it's very easy from that height to just kind of lean back and just kind of do a weird falling backflip instead of actually kind of like jumping and kind of floating. So I think that's where the leg thing came from. But that day was kind of crazy because Pitfall messaged me and he says, "Hey, I have something crazy that I think you might want to do." And I said, "Okay, I'm down. What is it?" And he says, "Do you want to be the first person to jump off the balcony? We've had a couple people kind of tease it, but no one's done it yet." And I said, "Well, heck yeah." And then so show day happens, and we're going over the stuff. And the people in the back, and they're asking me, "Well, what you're just gonna do crossbody, right? Like you're just gonna be safe crossbody?" And then I can't remember who it was, but somebody had said, "Oh, you're not gonna do a moonsault?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I mean, like I guess I'm gonna have to do a moonsault now." And so match starts. We go to the spot. I'm standing on the balcony. And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, I can't back out now. I'm literally standing moonsault position ready to go." So even if I wanted to like back out last second and just do a crossbody, I was like, ah. And so I was standing there and they're yelling, "Get down, get down, get down." And I said, "Oh, you want me to get down? Oh, okay, all right." And then I turned, just kind of didn't even think about it. As soon as I said that, I was just kind of in character, like, "Oh, you want me to jump? Okay, here I go." And then like in midair, I was just thinking to myself, I was thinking to myself, "Oh, I don't want to land on somebody's head. So please, like, I hope everybody like does the right thing and put their hands up so I'm not full force hitting somebody on their head." So that was the only thing that was running through my mind when I was going through the air.
Oh man, that is like absolutely has to be insane to actually go through. But it's like, is there anything that we can kind of expect from the future of Max Burnside that would kind of coordinate with something as far as that high risk?
I kind of go with the flow. Max Burnside just kind of goes with the flow, dude. You never know. You never know. It depends on the match I'm in. It depends on the people that I'm in the match with, the location, the venue, what we're able to do. You never know. Like it's one of those instances when you see my name on a match card, you see my name on a poster. You never know what you're gonna get, but you know you're gonna get something good. So
yeah. So let's kind of start to talk about ASAP Pro Wrestling. So like when did that whole conversation like really begin, where you guys were like, okay, so we really want to bring something else to the Pacific Northwest? Can you kind of walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah. 2023, as I was saying before, lost 3 promotions in a calendar year. Without a Cause, 5cc, and then TPW took a hiatus. When 5cc shut down, that's when I kind of had the feeling that something needed to be done. I had a feeling that we need to have another promotion up here for people to work, because we have technically there's 3. I consider Prestige like one of the traveling ones now, because even though technically like they do a lot of Portland shows, they do a lot of traveling shows. So they're in Portland. So you got Prestige, you got DOA, you got POW. Sometimes Defy runs there, but there's not too many up here that we're using the talent up here that we like to use. So I went to our group chat that we have, and I said, "Hey guys, like something might need to be done." And Jaden and myself had always talked about for years opening up our own promotion. But we never thought it would be this soon. So, and I had made the joke. I said I might see what it takes to open up a promotion, and next thing I know, I get a message from referee Bradley that says, "Hey, I'm in." And then let's see here, I think it was May. May was when we filed all of the LLC, the business licensing, all of that back end stuff, and then ever since then we've just been planning full force, ready to create another spot for people to work.
Yeah. That is so crazy. So like before we actually continue with ASAP Pro Wrestling, I wanted to ask you, like, how does it feel to be a professional wrestler, like, based in the Pacific Northwest, but then you have all of those companies that you work for to actually build your character, and then they almost fall apart, and then like you're left with like only certain avenues in which you can actually go with, like how is that, like, coordinating as a professional wrestler?
It's very daunting. I was on the very last 321 Battle show. I was on the very last Without a Cause show. I was on the very last 5cc show. And I was on the very last TPW show. That's 4 last shows where you have to sit in a locker room, go and try and fake being happy and being in character. And, that's very daunting to have to try and, again, try and create something that people can connect with, that people want to see over and over again. And if anybody has followed my career, I've kind of had an issue with character and trying to find something that's been very, not only consistent, but is kind of, sticks with an audience and is fun. And I feel like this new wave of Max Burnside has been the most fun yet, but it's been absolutely daunting to have to try and build something. So.
Okay. Well, here's a question. So I know the last time that we had spoken, you had kind of said that, like, you would want your name to be on the match card and for people to get excited about it. So, like, how did it feel going into that, I guess, final 5cc show, and then to know that, like, your name was on there, or you're going to be a representative of that company, and then, like, did you finally feel as if, like, you accomplished that a little bit?
I mean, I still feel like it's something that is one of those things that you have to continue to work at. It's not something that, just because you hit that certain point, you're always going to have that reputation when your name is on that marquee. But I feel like that was kind of like one of the moments where it was, again, you go through these ebbs and flows of professional wrestling success and all that good stuff. And I feel like I've kind of gone through these waves, and it's kind of been one of those confirmations where it's like, okay, like, this is another up wave, but it's only up to me to make sure that continues that, because it's hard work and dedication is with anything is what creates success. And so as long as I'm working hard and continuing to do what I'm doing with what I'm doing now, hopefully I can continue to be on a nice uphill or downhill, whichever one is better, whichever one's the better one.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that before, where, like, when you're going throughout your professional wrestling career, like, there's like highs and lows. And so it's like, whenever you kind of get into that low spot, maybe personally, how do you configure yourself to know that you're on your way to another higher slope?
Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't at all. And I'll reveal a little more behind the curtain. Therapy is something that I have grasped very, very much recently, and been using as a tool to kind of like self-reflect and to help me become a better version of myself, not only for me but for people that are around me. So, ugh, when people get at the lowest point, it's really easy to kind of have no energy to want to do anything at all. It's really easy to just say, I don't really want to do this today. I don't feel like doing this today. Um, and when we get to those low moments, that's when it takes that extra effort to make sure that you can be on an upslope, because you're only going to know you're on, a better path when you're starting to walk that better path. And so it's hard. It's really hard to know when you're on an upslope or when you're on a better path. So, but the only way to do it though is to self reflect and to kind of see where you're at, where you want to go. Um, and those low moments, it kind of makes it hard. But also if you recognize what's going on, it makes it really easy to kind of be like, okay, pause, let me figure this out real quick, so that way I don't continue to go down into this deep hole. Because the famous saying is, what do they tell you when you're in a hole? Stop digging. So when you're in a hole, stop digging and figure out how to get out. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that is so interesting. Well, if we can continue to talk about ASAP Pro Wrestling, so like, what is your role going to be in that whole company?
So ASAP is a group collective. We do have individual positions that we are assigned. Um, Brad and myself are the owners of ASAP Wrestling, and Jaden is also a part of the company in many many ways. He is we he is our head booker. He's the guy that makes the matches. He's the guy. We all have our ideas and we all have our thoughts and we all have our things, but he's the kind of guy that we want to have, like, be the guy. And so as far as everything else behind that, like, I'm kind of handling all the legality of stuff of it, like the licensing, all the tax stuff, because we're our 100% a full legit business. We have an employee ID with the IRS for people that want to fill out uh, uh, I-9s and stuff like that, for people that need to be, paid more uh, big amounts of money and stuff like that. So, like, we're 100% legit. So I'm kind of handling that back end. And Brad is also kind of like my partner on that as well, uh, handling a lot of the back end stuff as well. So
That is really crazy. That is really crazy. So here's a question for you that I think is pretty interesting. Is like, do you think that ASAP Pro Wrestling will actually introduce trios championships?
it's
'Cause,
been
like,
a discussion.
I was gonna say, like the
It's
Pacific Northwest doesn't have trios championships yet.
it's been a discussion, and I don't want to reveal too much.
No, it's all
But
good.
you may or may not see trios champions in the Pacific Northwest.
Mhm.
So I'm just saying. That's all I'm gonna say.
No, it's all good. So I know the last time that me and you had talked, you had kind of said that like you have a lot of ideas that you felt like maybe was best suited for other people. So is that going to be something that you're going to lead with that new company coming up, is being able to build ideas for maybe the future of pro wrestlers?
Oh, absolutely. The last time we talked, I think I had mentioned something along the lines of, I have a whole bunch of ideas, but I'm only one person, and I'm only one physical body that can only do so much, right? Like, I look like this one person. I have long hair. I have facial hair. My nose looks like this. Like, I'm only one person, but there are other people that can portray different things better than I could. And my inspiration from all kinds of things outside of wrestling have helped a lot of people. Um, uh, it's I'm our goal is to hopefully build characters. We want to build a nice company, and the only way we can do that is to build characters that people want to come and see continuously. So a lot of the things that we're doing is very, very, very much so building people up. So a lot of that has to do with being creative. And yes, I very much so want to have a lot of the things that go through my head and a lot of the ideas that I've written down for not just myself, but for other people, be something that I hopefully get to utilize at ASAP. So again, it's a group effort. So I want to be respectful of the people that I'm also doing this with, and so compromising is something that I have to do. It's what we all have to do when you're working together with somebody. So I just only hope that some of the ideas that I have match up with some of the ideas that the other people have. So
awesome. Well, I still have like a couple more questions for you, and I know the last time that we had spoke, you had also talked about how there's a correct way and a wrong way to coordinate. And maybe this is something that you can understand. And like, so when I've been in like my cooking career, just like I brought up last time, like somebody can come up to me and try and like give me some advice, right? But then when you don't follow that person's advice, they almost like take it personally, like as if like you should have done that. And it's like, have you ever like felt that like being a wrestler where somebody came and just told you something and like they felt like you needed to follow it instead of it being a personal choice?
oh yeah, 100%. Unfortunately, there are some people in wrestling that have done some awesome things, but that it feels like it entitles them that their opinion is 100% correct,
Mhm.
which I will give credit where credit is due. But at the end of the day, like you said, advice can be given, but it doesn't necessarily have to be taken and used. And
Yeah.
so there's been many times where I've had people come up and give unsolicited advice, and they expect me to use it. And there's only like 2 or 3 people that if they come up to give me advice, I'm going to listen to that advice no matter what.
Mhm.
And that's my trainer, that's Drexel, and that's Funny Bone. Those guys are the guys that I respect. Like all jokes aside, those 3 are the most the guys that I respect the most in professional wrestling, because those are the 3 that have treated me the best, showed me the best advice, and never gave me bad advice. They always gave me really good advice. And so if those 3 come up to me and give me unsolicited advice, I'm listening to them, and I'm going to listen to them every single time. But
Yeah.
somebody that I don't know necessarily or know their background, like, again, take it with a grain of salt type of thing. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But again, I should be able to have that personal choice to see if it works or not. You know what I mean? Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's a question. So I've noticed, without naming any names or anything, that there are certain wrestlers where they want just their name to be their name, almost like a John Cena, right? But when they go out, there isn't any character that actually defines that name. And so it's like what kind of advice would you give to those people that like they're not able to actually deliver like a full-on character that you can get attached to?
My advice is to find 3 characters that are not wrestling based,
Mhm.
and find what you like about each of those 3 characters and turn that into your character. Even if you want it to be your if like you know your your character, like example, Max Burnside. My 3 characters that my character is based on are Crush from Finding Nemo, which is the turtle, and he's the chillest dude in all of the sea, but when they hit the slipstream, he turns it up, and he knows how to turn it up. And so Crush from Finding Nemo, Pauly Shore, because everybody loves a good old Leaning Tower of Cheese. Suck, dude. Nice, bro.
Yeah.
And Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I remember watching that movie when I was a kid, and the Jeff Spicoli ordering a pizza and having it sent to the classroom was an iconic scene. So those three characters are the characters that Max Burnside is based off of. So if somebody is having trouble trying to figure out something, find 3 or 4 characters that are outside of wrestling, and turn it into a character, turn it into something.
Yeah. I know that was something that I was bringing up with Jaden, is that, like, so in order to make a character, you have to take maybe some inspirations about who you are, and then take some actual personal aspects of your personality and bring them into the ring. So, like, what are some of your personality traits besides those characters that you actually portray in the ring whenever you're performing?
Well, I am a pretty nice guy. I like to think I'm a really nice guy. I'm very easy to talk to. I could have anybody come up to me and have a full-on conversation, and it'd be the easiest thing in the world. So I think it being just very easy to like talk to, and to be like, hey dude, what's up dude, hey dude, like, it's
So, dude.
dude. Like, it's just, like, you remember you going through school and there's the people that you barely knew, but like every time you see them, I was like, saw dude, like, you didn't necessarily hang out with them, but like, it's somebody who you knew you liked, but you didn't necessarily know too well. Like, everybody knows who I am, but they know I'm a nice guy. So then, I'm really a nice guy, and Max Burnside's really a nice guy. So I think probably, besides the characters, just being super chill.
Well, that is awesome, man. Well, before we actually end up closing everything out, I just want to ask you, like, so what can we expect from the future when it comes to Max Burnside?
The future is bleak. No, I'm just kidding. The future is, I see, hopefully just staying busy with ASAP. My goal is to keep ASAP running as long as possible, even if it gets to a point to where I'm able to, like, sell the company maybe to somebody. We're able to sell the company and help keep, sell to somebody who, wants to have the same visions and keep it going. DOA hasn't been owned by the same people for 14 years. I think it was started, unless it was. I might be wrong. It says that it was owned by somebody else. I might be wrong on that, so I hope I don't get heat for this. Sorry, Terry. Sorry, Nancy. I love you guys. I'm sorry. But, I want ASAP to be one of those companies like DOA where they have a 15-year anniversary. And so I think you'll see a lot of Max Burnside at, locally wrestling, but you'll also see him with his nose in a notebook, behind my laptop, trying to keep ASAP afloat and trying to keep it to where it's a place where wrestlers want to work, and it's a place where people want to come watch their favorite wrestlers. So
that is freaking awesome. Well, if you could actually stick around after I end up closing everything out, I have one more question that I want to ask you after we get off of the air. And I just want to thank you so very much for actually joining us here for a second interview that has been amazing. Like, thank you so much.
No, thank you so much. It's been a blast.
All right. All right. Well, I will click you off, and I will talk to you in a minute.
Later, dudes.
Later. All right, you guys. So that was Interesting's podcast interview with Max Burnside. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you guys get notified whenever I upload content. Make sure to go and follow me on social media at CodyT503. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And remember, October 16th, Interesting Podcast is going to be interviewing Stevie Bay Knox. This is going to be another interview you guys are not going to want to miss. So make sure you guys ring that notification bell so you guys get notified when I go live